How to cash a check fast and easily. In this video, I want to discuss how to cash a check. With the prevalence of internet banking, you would be pardoned to think that checks are no longer being used. Unfortunately, even though their use is steadily going down, they are still being used. So what do you do to cash a check? You basically have two options to get your money. The check can be cashed or deposited into a bank account. Just be mindful of the processing fees that some institutions may charge you. Tips before you decide to cash a check. 1. Find out about the charges, if any, you might be charged, and pick the less expensive option for cashing your check. 2. Make sure you have valid identification. How to cash a check at your own bank. You basically have two options if you want to cash a check. You can go to your bank or credit union or use other alternatives. I have a video on this channel titled, Where to Cash Checks, where I have listed places where you can cash checks. Here are the steps that you need to take to cash a check. 1. Fill a deposit slip if required. 2. Take your check to a bank teller. 3. Sign your name at the bank of your check and pass it to the bank teller. 4. Show valid identification to the teller. 5. Get your cash and leave. I will now explain in detail each of the above steps. 1. Fill a deposit slip. Even though you are just cashing a check and not depositing it in your bank account, some banks or institutions require you to fill a deposit slip. In the deposit slip, you will fill the details found on a check. If the check you are cashing is from another bank, some banks may require you to just deposit it in your account. 2. Take your check to a bank teller. In most banks and credit unions, you have to line up and wait for the next available teller. 3. Sign at the back of the check and present it to the teller. It is important that you sign the check in front of the teller for security purposes. Otherwise, if you lose it and someone picks it, he may be able to cash your check. 4. Show a valid identification to the teller. Most banks and financial institutions require a valid identification, or you can hand them your debit card. Government-issued IDs such as passports, etc. are generally the most widely accepted form of ID. 5. Get your cash and leave. The only advice here is that you need to secure your cash before you leave the bank or credit union branch. Cashing a check at the issuer's bank. This is probably the easiest way to cash the check, as the teller will have access to the bank account of the issuer. The advantage of cashing the check at the issuer's bank is that you will most likely get your cash almost immediately. No delays whatsoever if you are possessing a valid ID. These steps for cashing a check at the issuer's bank are the same as the ones for cashing a check at your own bank. Can you cash a check at any bank? No. Banks are not obligated to cash your check if you don't hold an account with them. If you or the issuer does not hold a bank account at a bank, they are most likely to turn you down. The best option is to cash the check at your own bank or the issuer's bank. How can I cash a check without a bank account? Besides your bank or the issuer's bank, there are other places that can cash checks. They include major retailers like Walmart, check cashing stores, etc. These will most likely charge a high fee for these services. It can be as high as 5 to 10% of the check amount in the case of check cashing stores. The supermarkets and groceries fare much better as they charge less. On average, you can expect them to be charged $1 to $3. It is therefore advisable to avoid check cashing stores and even the supermarkets if you can. The cheapest way to cash a check is usually your own bank or the issuer's bank. You also need to be aware that each of these institutions will have its own restrictions. For instance, while you can cash any amount for government checks, for two-party personal checks most of these places will only accept up to $200. Which is better, cashing a check or depositing it in your account? Unless you want to use the whole amount on the check, the best way is to deposit your check into your account. For the security of your cash, it is better to keep it in the bank and only withdraw what you need. Unfortunately, for those that do not have a bank account, the option of a deposit is not available. However, if you have a prepaid debit card, you can still deposit your check into it. Can you cash a check at an ATM? Yes, You can at some ATMs where you can deposit and immediately withdraw the cash. However, in most cases, you may have to wait for the check to clear before you access the funds. Clearance usually takes 1 to 3 days. Can I cash a check at Walmart? Yes, you can cash a check at Walmart. However, check cashing is limited to pre-printed checks and includes payroll, tax, government, and insurance settlement checks. They charge a maximum fee of $4 for checks up to $1,000 and $8 for checks greater than $1,000. Can I cash a check online? You can cash a check online by scanning it through a mobile phone app or online. Just take a picture of the front and back of the check and download it to the bank app. However, the cash won't be available until a day or two in most cases. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this.